players can be entertained by the crappiest of ideas. Well, here's one of them. Hiya, I'm Ink and welcome to the Nook. Hope y'all have something fun to look forward to, and if not, take a moment and see what you can rustle up. Maybe a new recipe book or game night would work. Whatever it is, having something to anticipate helps make the difficult tasks in life just a bit easier. This is a series I call Dungeon Deck, where we make strange monsters, NPCs, and sometimes other things for tabletop RPGs. Now, with that all out of the way, let's get started. Recently, I saw a wonderful video by my friend Sinktop, an animator here on YouTube. In the video, he recreated the opening scene from Shrek, where the titular ogre steps out from the outhouse. That, along with a particular set of drawing prompts, led me to think about outhouses and about how players can get invested in the silliest of things, expanding those interactions with said silly thing out to a full game night. And in those kinds of beach episodes, quote unquote, as Diana of the Rose outlined in a recent short, are important. So, let's shape said session-stealing silly thing, specifically a sinful outhouse. Alliteration! Alrighty, with the basic idea of a cursed outhouse, we have plenty of paths to follow. In this instance, I like the idea of a challenge, something ridiculous that the players can use to test their mettle and gain rewards from. On top of that, the consequences for failure can be just as funny. But what will this challenge be? Well, there's a statistic out there that people in total spend almost 3 full days every year just sitting on the porcelain throne. Well, what if this outhouse could get that out of the way all at once? That would be really convenient. No more sleep being interrupted by late-night bathroom runs, no more desperate sprints to the toilet, and certainly no more worrying about a fart. In game terms, I translate this to needing less time for rests and some other roleplay effects. So how does this work? Well, once the character walks in and sits down, they're locked in for 3 days. If that character leaves, their butt is stolen and hung upon the wall of the outhouse, along with the other losers' rears. Though, just sitting down for 3 days seems a bit too easy. Let's ramp it up. Maybe the curse could function as a laxative. Let's say it time dilates 5 years into those 3 days, instead of just 1 year into 3 days. Now that sounds like something worth save against damage. But here's the kicker. 3 days is just a baseline challenge. It's the limit until the character can safely leave. That doesn't mean they have to leave. They can stay in the outhouse as long as they want, expelling filth until they can't do so any longer. This leads to the reason this little oddity could become a whole session in and of itself: the leaderboard. You see, this little curiosity has a theme attraction built around it that has put up a leaderboard and made this into a whole tourist event. The person who runs this place is called the Wizard, who has some strange and unique spells, such as Power Word Piss, Ass Explosion, and the Brown Hex. He actually sells spellbooks and scrolls for other wizards who wish to learn and cast from his unique school of magic, in addition to some other items with similarly themed enchantments. And yes, his wizard tower is shaped like a giant toilet. Back to the leaderboard though, it's set up as such. The time inside the outhouse is tracked, and the top 10 people who stay inside the longest are ranked. Those who sit at the top get free room and board at the local inn and a special prize from their gift shop. On top of that, the leaderboard is a fantastic place to put some names that the players may recognize, like for instance a rival party, or some DMs could even try and foreshadow some things with the names on the list. Now, not all characters would be good at this challenge. Taking a look at the situation, it would essentially be a series of ongoing constitution saves against taking damage, and maybe stages of exhaustion as the days go by. Perfect for a fighter or a barbarian type, but what about the frail wizard? Well, they can work as support. There's enough space between the wooden boards of the cursed outhouse for there to be line of sight for party members to cast spells, give words of encouragement, or maybe some thin items. So now we have a great setup for a D&D 4th edition style skill challenge. That type of skill challenge goes like this. Players have to get a certain number of successes before 3 failures, and each type of skill or ability can only be used once. In this instance, though, the successes and failures are all based on one character's constitution saves, and the total number of acceptable failures are based on their HP. So what happens with the other party members? Well, their skills and abilities will be there to give assistance to that main character who's making the saves. And then they can also help recover from failures or block some saves in the first place. So for example, a bard could give inspiration for a bonus to the next save. Then a cleric can cast a healing spell to help recover from a failure. A ranger could use their herbalism skills to make a poultice to block the stench and skip some saves against the smell. But the bard couldn't come back again to cast another healing spell because of the cleric's healing from earlier, even if it is a differently named spell. Along with that, the character inside can still use their own abilities to help with the situation. Imagine a barbarian raging to help get past a particularly difficult piece. Overall, the idea is to have the players get creative on how to help out the situation. Next up, let's pull out that creature card and start filling it in. Well, I suppose to call it a creature card would be wrong. In this instance, we'll use the same card format we did when making the dungeon heart in this video right here. So no matter the format, we'll still need to begin with the name. And for this, I actually want to allude to the origins just a little. Even if this thing is now just a tourist attraction, I like the idea of pulling in some of that mysterious origin. From somewhere, somehow, I vaguely remember a piece of dialogue that kind of works for this. Demonic rituals tend to involve a variety of body fluids, so when you take a whiz on the altar, no matter how disrespectfully you do so, you're probably feeding it to its power. So let's make this an altar to a demon lord of waste. And I actually have a perfect name for this demon lord too. Buf-Jezos. Completely unrelated to any public figures. Let's put this all together as Outhouse Altar to Buf-Jezos. With this origin and name, it makes you wonder, how did the wizard become involved with this whole rigmarole? Maybe he knows something, and maybe he profits in more than coin. Next up, let's note down in general terms what this attraction does, using keywords to help get things across. Challenge: survive a torrent of extreme defecation over 3 days. Reward: no need to use the bathroom for 5 years. Okay, that's the basic challenge for the 3 days, but that doesn't include the consequences of failure, namely the butt stealing. One thing to note is that the posterior thievery is not an injury. The outhouse isn't going to tear flesh from bone, it's more of a curse, so the punishment for failure will reflect as such. Failure: butt is stolen for 5 years. Only greater curse removal can restore the affected character. Now we have the extra challenge. What happens after the 3 days? I think the magic would let up a little. Instead of around 1 year and 2/3 per day, it'll just be a year. However, that doesn't mean the challenge gets any easier, as then the exhaustion sets in. Bonus: each additional day in the outhouse adds an additional year to the bathroom list time. Finally, we have the meat of this situation, what the players are really after with the outhouse: the leaderboard. This will be very simple, as each party has different wants and needs. Bonus: topping the leaderboard adds a big prize. Taking this scenario as a whole, it sets up the opportunity for players to get into shenanigans in a more roleplay-based situation. Really, these kinds of puzzles are my favorite to throw players against. Here's a problem, here are the rules. Go nuts. There's no intended solution and so many options available. As a DM, this is when I've seen the most creativity and harebrained plots pop out of absolutely nowhere. So put this outhouse and the wizard's tower in a podunk town in the middle of nowhere and see what comes out. Hopefully it doesn't smell too bad. And that's that. This vid was a wild one to script. That sort of unholy inspiration doesn't come often, but when it does, it hits like a truck. Still, it was really fun to make, and if y'all want to watch a similarly silly vid, stick around for the end screen, where there's one about creating a puppet monster made from hands that grow from the ground. Hope to see you there! And with that, let's bring this video to a close. For those of you with dark skies, good night. And if you have bright days, good morning! Whatever part of the world you're from, I hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Goodbye!